Howdy! Today I'm going to talk about the feud between Tyra Banks and Naomi Campbell, and yes, I am wearing this again. Okay, I'm not a fashion model, it's them, so I can wear whatever I want. And we're just going to be talking about the feud, not their individual lives and careers, but we can do individual series on them if you want, although I do think individual series, just since they tend to be longer, may be going on my YouTube from now on. Not all of them, but some. And on that note, if you haven't already, please go subscribe to my YouTube. If you click the link in my bio and then click the YouTube icon on that page, it'll take you straight over there. And I already have my Biggie and Tupac series uploaded on there. I originally had it over here, but the app did not like it. So we're putting it on there. It's pretty long, but I uploaded it in like 15 to 20 minute parts so that you have stopping points if you want them. And that's the kind of content I'll have on my YouTube from now on. True crime, long series, anything that I would have to censor myself too much on this app for, that'll be on YouTube. So for sure, subscribe, turn on notifications if you want to know when those series drop. And you can also request series in the comments on my YouTube as well. Also, I'm sorry, this is the longest intro ever, but it's pretty hard to find information on this feud because a lot of it happened in the 90s and that's just not easy to find on the internet. So if I forget something or if you remember something that I don't say, please drop it in the comments. I would love to hear it. I am not claiming to be an expert on this topic whatsoever. I'm just telling y'all what I found. So birth chart time. Tyra is a Sagittarius sun, a Aries moon, a Cancer rising, which I totally see because I feel like she has such rounded features on her face, Scorpio Mercury, Capricorn Venus, and Aries Mars. And Miss Naomi is a Gemini sun, a Sag moon, a Capricorn rising, a Taurus Mercury, a Gemini Venus, and a Gemini Mars. Big Gemini energy from Naomi. So January of 1986 was Naomi's runway debut, and it was for Jasper Conran. And 1986 was also around the time that Tyra saw Naomi for the first time. She said that she was around 13. And Naomi was one of the only black models within the industry at the time, especially at the level of success that she was at. And Tyra said that she really looked up to her a ton, and she even had pictures of her all over her walls. In August of 1988, Naomi was the first black model on the cover of French Vogue. And a little over a year later, in September of 1989, Naomi was the first black model on the cover of American Vogue. In 1990, Naomi was named the reigning mega model of them all by Interview magazine, which obviously makes perfect sense because she's one of the most famous models of all time. Also, since this picture is definitely one of them, there are so many fantastic looks in this series, so just get ready to be in awe. In September 1981, Naomi is the first black woman on the cover of Time magazine. So that should give you an idea of where Naomi was in her career by the time that Tyra entered the runway modeling world. So the fall of 1991 was Tyra's runway debut at Paris Fashion Week. Here's a picture from it. And she already had 25 different runway shows booked on her debut. And she said that how she did this was that she went to the castings dressed based on their brand image. Very strategic, Miss Tyra. And she did say that it was very overwhelming being a 17-year-old entering the modeling world and being around the same people and in the same places as Naomi, who was one of her idols, and just being in the same environment as her has got to be crazy. But once Tyra came on the scene, the media was already saying, look out, Naomi, Tyra's going to take your spot, whatever. And this was before Tyra and Naomi had even met. Tyra did say, though, that when she was first compared to Naomi, she felt very flattered and she was so excited. And in Tyra's interview with the Wall Street Journal, which was pretty recently, they do talk about how all of this, like, oh, she's going to steal your spot, whatever, is all based on the assumption that there could only be one black model in the runway shows, which was really the industry standard at the time, but definitely didn't have to be. And Tyra said that during this time, in the fall of 1991, she did a fashion show that Naomi was also at, and she was so excited. She called her aunt to tell her, like, Naomi Campbell is right there. Oh my God, she's so beautiful, blah, blah, blah. Didn't work out that well, though, because Naomi did overhear her saying her name, but nothing else. But according to Naomi, she thought it was something negative that Tyra was saying about her, so she confronted her, and this is what she said. I heard you talking about me, bitch. We have a photo shoot in Anguilla to do, and it's not going to be pleasant if you're talking about me. And I feel like that's a pretty mild confrontation if Tyra had been talking shit about her, but since it was all a misunderstanding, it just scared the hell out of Tyra. And Naomi has said that after fall of 1991, when Tyra entered the modeling world, people around her did talk to her about Tyra and would say stuff like, oh, she wants to be you, she's trying to take your place, etc. At the same time, the people around Tyra were constantly telling her how she was just so up and coming and how Naomi was a whole 3 years older than her, which is nothing in reality, but in the modeling world, every year is a year towards the death of your career. And I know that that sentiment has changed maybe like a little bit in the modeling industry. I mean, both of them stood the test of time. I know that there's celebrities and influencers that do ads and campaigns into their later life, but by and large still in the modeling and advertising industries, once we turn 40, us women, we are just useless, huh? And that was definitely the majority feeling in the 90s as well. And in May of 1992, Tyra and Naomi are on the cover of Vogue together. So this was the Anguilla shoot that Naomi had said would not be pleasant for Tyra if she was talking about Naomi behind her back. And yeah, the shoot wasn't pleasant. Tyra did say, though, that at first Naomi was being really nice to her and very friendly, and it was actually on a boat, as you can probably see, and Tyra gets really seasick, and she said that she was pretending to nap, but actually was feeling like super ill, and Naomi came over to her and was asking her if she was okay, which is very sweet. However, after that, Tyra said that Naomi asked her point blank, "Do they try to make you look like me?" And Tyra's response was that, not really right now, but when I was in LA, they were definitely trying to copy your black bob, which was Naomi's signature look. And at that point, according to Tyra, Naomi pushed Tyra's legs off of her, but she had her legs up on her, and said, "I thought so," and walked off. And Tyra said that after that moment, they basically did not talk to each other the rest of the photo shoot. It was really awkward. Naomi was being really cold. And then Tyra was asked to leave the photo shoot, and she was told it was because Naomi didn't want her there. In December of 1992, Tyra and Naomi, along with other black models, attended a press conference for the Black Girls Coalition. It was started by Beth Ann Hardison, and she was the first black saleswoman in the garment district, and then she was also a model, and then had her own modeling agency. But at the time that she started it, she was actually retired. But Naomi called her up and said, "We would love for you to help us to push for diversity." And so she did. She formed the Black Girls Coalition along with Iman, who's also a former model. And Beth Ann said that it was strange because right after the civil rights movement in the 70s, black women were being included in the fashion industry, in the modeling industry, and strides were being made to get better. But over time, it just went back to where it was, and they started being excluded again. So they started to raise awareness, fight to hold the industry accountable, and try and push for change. In 1993, Tyra is still being called the next Naomi, and Naomi is again not fond of this. And honestly, people rarely ever like being compared to others, and I'm sure at this point Tyra was also very tired of it. I mean, she wanted to be her own person. She didn't want to just be the next Naomi. It was more than just saying that she'd be the next Naomi, though, because at this point, Tyra was actually kind of breaking the boundaries of modeling. She was being applauded when she went down the runway like a celebrity, and that did not happen for other models. She was also different from other models in that she was very emotive. She had a big personality, and people said that it really came through on the runway in a way that just didn't for other models. While Naomi and Tyra never talked about each other explicitly in the media at this time, I mean, they were focused on their modeling careers, the rumors were that they weren't friendly. And I saw a lot of reports that said that Naomi felt like Tyra was trying to copy her in terms of poses, walk, looks, style, all of that. But Tyra said that she was never trying to copy Naomi's style or looks, and that it was really more the fault of the fashion industry, who essentially was saying, "Oh, well, there's only 2 black supermodels, so we might as well just do their hair and makeup and everything the same way." And of course, this doesn't say anything about poses or walks, but I do agree with her that I don't think as a model you can really steal a style, because it's up to the fashion designer and the makeup artist and the hairstylist what you're going to look like, really. And Naomi said in an interview later on, "Some people think I wanted it to be that way. I did not want it that way." And that's where I think we have to look at the industry and the influences around them and their part in it. Because again, a big part of this is the modeling industry, and not only the modeling industry, but society at large throughout all of time, telling us that if there's room for diversity at all, there's only room for one person of color. Meanwhile, there's literally tons of white supermodels, basically all of them. Tyra specifically said at one point, "I'm the only black person. Sometimes I don't even realize it until I get home." Regardless of the reasons, though, the reports began and the rumors began that Naomi was very threatened by Tyra. And I chose too many pictures, but just, I could not show this picture because I love this outfit. I love the hair. I want to own this. I don't know. I definitely can't afford it. So both Tyra and Naomi were signed to Elite Models Management, and in 1993, Naomi apparently told Tom Sykes, who worked there, that she wanted Tyra dropped from the agency. According to Tom, she didn't feel there was room for her and Tyra at the same agency. And in September of 1993, Naomi supposedly told Karl Lagerfeld, "If she appears, I don't," in reference to the Chanel show. And Karl did indeed drop Tyra from the show. However, they did both appear in the Nicole Miller show and the Anne Klein show together, and they seemed to be fine working together on those, although I don't know that they talked a lot, but probably because they were smaller brands and not Chanel. Also, I don't know that this is from either of those shows, but it's harder to find pictures of them from smaller shows, so this is just Tyra around that time. And Tyra has said that definitely at this time, but pretty much from the moment that she found out that Naomi really didn't like her, "I was going home at night crying my eyes out because a woman I was looking up to seemed like she just didn't want me to be there and was doing everything in her power to make me go away." The tensions are definitely high between them. Everybody just assumes that they hate each other, and Naomi has been supposedly trying to get Tyra off of her agency, off of shows, etc. And Tyra said that at this time there was a Versace show that she got canceled from last minute, and when she asked them why, they just kind of like motioned over to Naomi. And at that point, Tyra said she really contemplated quitting modeling because she just was so done with everything. At the Isaac Mizrahi show in 1993, they did both walk the runway. And while there wasn't any reports of confrontations, there was lots of reports that it was Naomi's night all night. Tyra, however, was being talked about in a negative light. Apparently she had gained some weight and she was in danger of losing some of her contracts because of it. And both this picture and the last picture are not from that exact show. They're just pictures of them at Isaac Mizrahi shows. And I'm about to show you a video of both of them at an Isaac Mizrahi show. I think it's the right one, but I don't know because honestly, it's hard to find pictures and videos from the 90s. And also, it is so hard for me, and I don't know why, to distinguish the fall, winter versus spring, summer, and the years that they're labeled versus like what year that means that they were actually walking in them. It's so confusing. I don't know why the fashion industry labels them so confusing. So in 1993, in the fall, right after all of the fashion weeks occurred, because they all occur like back to back, Tyra switched to IMG. Supposedly, she was hoping that it might kind of ease some of the tension and get rid of this feud. And then right after that, Naomi is dropped by Elite Model Management. And I saw some different reports. Some said that it was Tom Sykes that fired her. Some said that it was John Casablancas that fired her. Some said that she left herself. But in the articles that were saying that she was fired, they talked about her being rude and impossible, a spoiled, selfish, greedy brat, and totally uncontrollable, using foul language, throwing tantrums, and being abusive. Which, of course, even further fueled the allegations that, one, she had told them to drop Tyra, or she was the reason that Tyra left them, and also that she was this total villain going after Tyra. But I am in love with this outfit. If anyone knows how I can recreate this, let me know. So Naomi is no longer with Elite Models, and some reports said that she was fired, some reports said that she left. She said in an interview that she was the one who decided to leave and that they did not actually fire her. I will say though that either way, she dodged a bullet because in 1999, videos came out of Elite Model Management members being extremely racist and saying slurs. And John Casablancas specifically was associated with Epstein and admitted to using the modeling agency as a way to get women. And Gerald Marie, who was the European president, talked about having relations with underage girls that won their competition. So basically, they were the living worst. And I'm not saying that that means that Naomi wasn't rude or that she didn't throw tantrums, because there have been other times when she lashed out in public, prompting the Naomi hit me and I loved it shirts, which are so iconic. But at least on the comments that she was totally uncontrollable, yeah, maybe you didn't like her because she didn't let you own her. After 1993, there were still rumors that they did not get along, that Naomi didn't like Tyra, that Tyra didn't like Naomi, that Tyra was coming for Naomi, that Naomi was coming for Tyra, blah, 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 blah. But nothing really concrete to go off, like getting people dropped from agencies or from shows. So in that sense, it seemed that the feud had simmered a little bit. Tyra did have a lot of firsts during that time, though. For one, in 1994, she was named one of People magazine's 50 most beautiful people in the world. And in 1995, she became the first Black Victoria's Secret angel ever. And y'all know I can't show you her Victoria's Secret pictures, but please go look them up right now. Also, there is a difference between being a Victoria's Secret angel and being a model in a Victoria's Secret show. You can model in their shows and not be an angel. And Naomi specifically never became a Victoria's Secret angel, although she did walk in many of the shows. And she claimed that it was because they couldn't afford her. An expensive gal. I see you, Naomi. Subtle flex. In 1996, Tyra was made one of People's 50 Most Beautiful People again for a second time. And in February of 1997, Tyra was the first Black woman to be the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit. And again, we know that I can't show people in bikinis on this app. And in January of 2000, Tyra was the first woman on the cover of GQ. And she has said that she often has to clarify for people because they say the first Black woman, which is also true, but she was also the first woman, period. And the cover is beautiful, but again, I can't show it. So this is a picture of her from Life Size, the movie that she did with Lindsay Lohan, holding a bunch of Barbie dolls of herself. So May 20th of 2003, America's Next Top Model first airs, and of course, Tyra is the focal point. And Tyra has said that she thinks part of the reason that she started America's Next Top Model is because she never wanted to treat models the way that she was treated by Naomi, and she wanted to make sure that she was doing the opposite and helping young models to come up in their careers. I can and definitely will do an entire series on America's Next Top Model once I've finished watching it in full. But there are still definitely some issues there. You know, harmful comments about bodies and people's sexuality and people's race and racial stereotypes and blackface. The list goes on. September 12th, 2005, the Tyra Banks show airs. And by this point, Tyra was already taking a step back from modeling because she had gained some weight and people wanted her to lose weight, of course. And she said that she just didn't want to keep focusing on losing weight her entire life and just constantly be trying to get skinnier. So she had forfeited some opportunities because of that. And she said that at this point, she did know that she was probably going to be retiring soon. She was tired of the pressure to be thin. And also she said she was done with hearing from people that she was losing jobs because Naomi didn't want her there. And then, November 18th, 2005, Naomi goes on the Tyra Banks show. Oh yes, it's gonna be good. And this was basically intended to be like a public rehashing of all of their issues, of the entire feud, once and for all. And she did have a studio audience later on, but at the very beginning, she did not have a studio audience. She said that she needed for it to be just them because it's just such a tense and emotional moment for both of them. And the first thing that Tyra said was basically that she admired Naomi so much when she was younger and when she was in the modeling industry. And she also made it very clear in this interview that she was never trying to copy Naomi's look or her poses or her walk or anything like that. And Naomi did hit on the things that were said comparing her to Tyra, but she said that those people that would tell her those things were also the people that would sit by and watch her take substances and not try to get her any help, and that she'd removed all of those negative influences from her life. Tyra told Naomi, "I'm fearful of you to this day," which I think she meant more in the way of like Naomi taking jobs away from her and such and sabotaging her. But also, I mean, she's Naomi Campbell. She's pretty intimidating. I'd be intimidated. No shame in that. And Tyra said that those early years were some of the most difficult years of her life. Naomi, on the other hand, said that she loved those years. She had so much fun. She was so thankful to the modeling industry and that it was so formative in her discovering who she was. And she also said, and I quote, "It's not that deep." While Naomi was on the Tyra show, she did say that she felt like the feud was blown way out of proportion and that the media and the tabloids were really embellishing stuff, even making some stuff up. And Tyra agreed with her on that. And also during this interview, Tyra brought up many instances from the past that she wanted to clear up. First, she brought up that very first confrontation that they had in Paris Fashion Week where Naomi said, "I heard you talking about me, bitch, and Anguilla won't be pleasant if you're talking about me," and basically said how hurtful it was to her. And Naomi told her that it was all a misunderstanding and she completely apologized. Tyra also brought up the May 1992 photo shoot for Vogue, the one in Anguilla, and Naomi said that she remembered the wig comment, but she did not remember anything else. Whereas Tyra could recall the entire incident in great detail and also said how cold Naomi was to her afterwards, talked about Naomi trying to get her kicked off and succeeding in that. Naomi, though, said that she never tried to get her kicked off and that couldn't have been the reason that she left anyways, because even if she had tried to, she doesn't have that power. Tyra also told another story that we previously hadn't heard about a Milan fashion show where right before Tyra was about to walk on the catwalk, supposedly Naomi said to her, "You will never be me," or something to that effect. And Tyra said how shocking it was to her and how surprised she was and how it kind of like threw her off and she was very, very upset by it. But Naomi denied this one completely. Other of our stories, like the Paris Fashion Week one, the Anguilla shoot, where she would say like, "Yeah, I think I said that," or "That probably happened, that sounds like me." This one, she said, absolutely not. And she said, and I quote, "I've never said that in my life," and that she didn't think that sounded like her at all, and she wouldn't ever say something like that. Tyra also brought up that Versace show that she was supposedly canceled from because of Naomi, and she gave this huge description of it and said that she dropped down to her knees in the street and cried after she left. So then Naomi said, "Do you even know Gianni Versace?" I don't want to laugh. It was such an emotional moment for both of them, but it was funny. It was funny. And then she said, "Anyone that knows him knows I could never do that," which she does know him, so. And then she went on to reassure her that she knows tons of models who have been canceled from his shows last minute. Apparently that's something that he did quite often. So next on the interview on the Tyra show, they brought up how Tyra's mom was with her at all of her shows, and Naomi really envied that because her own mother couldn't be there because she was taking care of her siblings. And at that point, Tyra seemed to be doing kind of a battle of the hardships deal, where she was then saying that the reason her mom was with her was because of the feud and that she just couldn't keep going in the modeling world unless her mom was there with her. And I know that everybody has struggles, but it does really irk me when you like reveal an issue or a struggle of yours and then the person that you tell it to has to jump in with a problem of their own as if it's some sort of competition. And I will also say that Tyra did this in this interview, and I've seen her do it on America's Next Top Model multiple times, where somebody starts talking about like a struggle or something difficult for them and being vulnerable, and Tyra immediately starts like grilling them and pushing them for more information, including in this interview when she straight up asked Naomi if she had encountered sexual abuse in her childhood, which seems like an uncomfortable question to put somebody on the spot with in a TV interview. It did seem, though, that Tyra in this interview very much wanted to look back at each step of the feud, go through it, solve it, get closure on everything, whereas Naomi was very happy to just say the past is the past and remain future-oriented. And I'm not saying that either of those strategies is better than the other, but I am saying it definitely shows their different personalities and also kind of the different effects that the feud had on each of the women. Tyra also got definitely somewhat frustrated with Naomi during the interview because Naomi wasn't really getting emotional and didn't seem to really be empathizing with Tyra, at least outwardly. Naomi also definitely took the approach of like, this doesn't really matter anymore, whereas Tyra's approach was, this definitely matters because it shaped me and I've never really healed from it. Which it is much easier to feel that something isn't a big deal and forget it and leave it in the past when it didn't scar you, and especially if you, like Tyra claims Naomi did, were the one dealing more of the hurt than the one being targeted. Naomi did say, though, that if it were to happen all over again today, she would have ignored what people were saying and avoided all of the negativity and just focused on herself and staying positive. And while Tyra said that at the beginning she felt like Naomi wasn't really admitting to or believing the things that Tyra was saying, she said at the end, "I've started to heal and I think Naomi has too." Naomi also did say at the very end of her time on the Tyra show, when they had brought the live studio audience in, that she takes full responsibility for the way that she affected Tyra and that she's proud of her. And I guess we could take it either as she waited until there was an audience to say this, so maybe she's not as sincere in it, or that she wanted to take accountability in front of a large group of people as well. November 29th, 2005, Tyra retired from modeling. She said that she wanted to retire at the height of her career and that she didn't really want to let the fashion world push her out. And at this point, she also had 2 TV shows going, so her finances were fine. They were on the rise. In March of 2007, Tyra and Naomi both went to the NAACP Image Awards. They were pictured together, and I think that people started to believe that maybe their issues had been solved, at least somewhat. In January of 2013, Naomi talked about Tyra in an interview with Elle, and Naomi was about to air her new TV show that was about the modeling industry, and so the interviewer asked her if she felt that the show was similar to America's Next Top Model. And Naomi said, "I don't watch the other reality model shows. I'll never have anything to say." But she then said about Tyra, "I'm proud of her as a woman of color. She's given girls opportunity and God bless her." So that's a positive note. And February 12th of 2013, The Face airs, and this is Naomi Campbell's show. And I know this might be shocking, but I actually hadn't heard of The Face until I did research for this. I mean, I didn't really watch America's Next Top Model when I was younger, like when it first came out either. So maybe that's why. But also 2013 was like the middle of my emo phase, so I was in a completely other world, honestly. But at the time, America's Next Top Model had gone down from 2 seasons a year to just 1 season a year, which I suppose is indicative of the viewership. So the arrival of another modeling show was probably not super welcome by Tyra. And the comparisons I've seen between America's Next Top Model and The Face usually talk about the fact that Naomi and the other judges/teams never try and change the contestants' look. They just work on their techniques and all of that sort of stuff. America's Next Top Model, on the other hand, not always been very pretty. Pun intended, I guess. But she definitely wanted the contestants to change their look sometimes, change who they are sometimes, not come out. How can we forget the photo shoot where they changed races? That's not cool. But of course, because they're doing similar shows, the rumors that the rivalry was flaring up again started. And it didn't help that, guess who was hosting The Face? Yes, Nigel, who was previously a judge on America's Next Top Model. Tyra and Naomi Part 11. So, of course, with Nigel, who was previously a judge on America's Next Top Model, now hosting Naomi's show, people thought that Naomi was like going after Tyra again. In May of 2015, Isaac Mizrahi said that Naomi was not the easiest girl to work with in response to who was the most difficult model. He basically said that she was pretty difficult and that if the fitting didn't go well, you really couldn't count on her to show up. However, he did say that she just had to show up and it was perfect. And at this point, Naomi had been described this way multiple times, In October of 2016, Tyra talked about the feud in an interview, and she said that while the industry's treatment of Black women at the time as sort of a one-at-a-time kind of novelty character thing was not correct, obviously, she felt like Naomi's treatment of her was still too severe of a response. And she once again said, "I'm very scared of her," so I guess those feelings didn't change after the interview. She also did talk about Naomi's appearance on the Tyra Banks show, and she said that while Naomi was denying it on camera, which I don't know how much of it she really denied, but she said that during the commercial break, Naomi genuinely apologized, and after that, Tyra broke down in tears, apparently. January 4th, 2019, Naomi was on Andy Cohen, and he asked her about her status with Tyra and whether they were friends or not. And Naomi said they had a good friendship last time they talked, and that she really hates that they still have the perception of bad blood between them. And again said basically that it has way more to do with the modeling industry and the idea that there could only be one Black woman on the runway at a time rather than any actual bad feelings. And she once again reiterated that she was so proud of Tyra. Then July 17th, 2019, Tyra does an interview with the Wall Street Journal, and once again, they do talk about Naomi. She said, first of all, that she would never call this a rivalry because a lot of the people would call it a rivalry between her and Naomi. And she said that that couldn't describe it because Naomi was at the very top of her career and Tyra was just starting out. So in her mind, it's more of a David and Goliath kind of situation, I guess. And I can understand why Tyra would feel super intimidated by Naomi because Naomi was a huge supermodel. I mean, she still is. She's incredibly famous, still is, and is also known to be very fiery and even aggressive. And by that, I mean that she has been convicted of assault 4 times. That being said, I'm not saying that Naomi was terrorizing Tyra. I'm just saying that I can understand why Tyra would have been intimidated by her, at least at the time. Next part. February 23rd, 2020, Tyra is on Andy Cohen, and a fan asks her when was the last time that she spoke with Naomi. She said that it was backstage of a Michael Jackson show, which was a while ago, clearly, and that she could barely remember even. So clearly they're not BFFs, although they never were, and we never expected them to be. March 21st, 2020, Tyra does an interview with The Guardian, and once again, they ask her about Naomi. She said that interviewing Naomi was the most nervous she's ever been on the Tyra show, except when she interviewed presidential candidates. And again reiterated that they're not in contact. They asked her about the face and if she had seen it, and she said she saw a clip online and that she thought it was fantastic, but then she burst out laughing. So I'm guessing that was sarcasm. And then November 15th of 2020, Naomi posted this article on her Instagram story. It was basically saying that no matter what the beef was between Tyra and Naomi in the past, Tyra's actions on America's Next Top Model make her the mean girl. But I don't think that there really has to be a mean girl. Like, everybody has been the victim, everybody has been the villain, everybody has been the hero at some point. I will say it over and over again because it is so true. And if you don't think that you have been all three of those characters at some point, you're really not looking accurately at your actions from other people's point of views. And of course, also, Tyra doing mean stuff doesn't negate Naomi doing mean stuff. That's not really how it works. 2021, though, Tyra has come out of retirement and has done some modeling again. She also created Model Land, which was postponed because of the pandemic, but it's basically like a theme park. She said that it is the opportunity to live the ultimate modeling fantasy. And I'm not gonna lie, it does kind of sound like it's an adult Libby Lou. Naomi has never officially retired, though people off and on speculated that she would, but she said that she does not use the term retired. And she definitely isn't because she still models regularly. And she is also a mentor to Bella Hadid. Ultimately, both women have had extremely successful careers. They have done everything, not just modeling, but music videos and books and movies and TV shows and everything in between. And although it seems like there is still lingering tension, I think the feud has mostly dissolved just as they've grown.